friends that I'm going to make starting today, and we're going to work together going forward. All I can tell you is we are so proud to have the Mandela Washington Scholars here with us in Charlottesville. Already you are powerful leaders. Already you fight for human rights in the places where you live. You fight for equal rights, gender rights. You fight for land rights, water rights, political rights, and you're doing that already as young people. It's an amazing thing to see, and we are proud to get to know you now and to participate in the journey that you're on. I've been on such a journey for a while, as you've heard. I was born in 1950 in Virginia, which means to those who lived here, and I want you to understand from those from the continent, that's a time when America was legally segregated. It was the American apartheid. The decisions breaking down segregation didn't come until 1954 and weren't even implemented until late in the 60s. So I was born into a broken and divided America. But I was told along the way by teachers and others that it's your job to make change. And I am sure that some of you sitting here today have heard elders in your family and teachers in your school tell you that it's your job to make change. And you're sitting there as a young child wondering, what in the world am I going to do? But these old heads are looking at you and they tell you things like you do not know, but that you were placed in the kingdom for such a time as this. I know that spirit is in this place because I saw it in the room downstairs when we were together. But I want to talk to you. We're going to talk in detail about things like law and civil society, but I want to talk to you about the journey and the nature of what it's like to be pushing ahead and trying to make change. And the thing that I know, and I bet you know already, is that it's lonely. I think that y'all realize already that there are times when even when the crowd is buzzing around you and the music is playing, you feel lonely. There are times that everybody else is at the party and late at night you're in a room by yourself with a paper in front of you and the light staring down in your eyes and you feel lonely. And you wonder how you can do it. And so I have come to understand that sometimes you have to keep pushing forward because going back ain't going nowhere. There's nothing back there anymore. That things are so bad where you came from, if you turn around, you just can't stand it, so you got to keep going. People ask me sometimes, well, how did you keep on pushing? And part of it was that whilst I was coming along, every now and then, there would be some small change, some little change that I might have thought I had something to do with. And those little teeny changes, not monumental, just a little change, and you think, I had something to do with that. Maybe if I pushed just a little bit more, maybe if I tried just a little longer, maybe we can make more change. And then all of a sudden, changes become big. Now, in my life, and this is back to this 1954 decision. Listen to this now. I go to a law firm when I leave law school here, and my firm was actually one of the firms, it wasn't the only one, but it was one of the firms that stood in front of the Supreme Court of the United States to argue the other side of Brown versus Board. And guess what? I actually made partners with people who had stood on the other side. So you can in your life see stunning, monumental change. And I got to the point that some of the people who had stood there arguing would cry with me about the nature of America. So you can make real change in America. I know that I don't understand the situations in all your countries. I can't possibly. I don't know all the ins and outs and the ups and downs, but I know change is hard. I know that Dr. King tried to give us hope when he said, people were asking him along the way, how long we got to do this? How long we got to fight? How long do we have to struggle? And he said that the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. But as I thought about that, and he wasn't trying to describe all of what change is about, but there's something that's missing from that statement, not because of his fault. He was being very poetic, but the thing that's missing is this. Change never occurs by itself. If you stay where you are and do nothing, there will be no change. And so even this great arc of the moral universe and the change that it makes, it only changes if you lean into it. And it takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of understanding. It takes the seeking of knowledge. It takes the sharing of knowledge. It takes trying to bring people along with you. And that's another thing about this journey. I recommend to you that if you can, you find somebody, some close group that are your buddies, your pals, those folk that you can call in the middle of the night. It's hard to find, but you might be able to do it if you work on it. I have a group like that from law school, when we were the few black guys in law school, and we played cards together, and we cried together, and we talked together. To this day, we meet every year just to sit around and talk about the things that we tried to do together and just laugh and play together, because it's hard to be out there. I told you it's lonely, but if you're completely lonely and completely isolated, it gets much more difficult along the way. And so the other thing I want to tell you is this sense of understanding that I want you to bring to others. Basically, it's enlightenment. And I've learned in my journey that the candle that lights another candle burns no less brightly. Do y'all get that? You can have a cavern that's in complete darkness, and you can have one candle, and you can light that candle and light that candle, and you can light the whole place up, and you lose no light. So think about the powerful mathematics and physics of sharing light but not losing light, which means that everywhere you go in the continent and around the world, when you meet with others, you want to be in the business of sharing light. So we come to you with a message of hope. We say that you come from difficult places with difficult journeys and mountains to climb. You come to this place with its own paradoxes. A man who owned slaves, yet who would write that all men are created equal and endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights. Yeah, you come into the middle of a paradox. And you come here not because we know all the answers. You come here because we've been asking these questions for a long time. You come here because we have been grappling with what it means to be free, what it means to uplift others, what it means to change institutions for a long time, and we have had some success. We have made it to the point that when I was born, I couldn't stand here. This was against the law. When I came to this place, it was only 6 black guys who came. 3 of them quit the same day when they saw the Confederate flag, and 3 of us finished here in the class of 1972. That's not that long ago, people. And so we say to you that if you struggle, if you cry too. I didn't mean to say it there, but it came out. So yeah, if you cry, we can live with crying sometime, because you do. If you keep pushing, if you know each other, if you meet somebody who you didn't know before who's on a similar journey, so you can commiserate with that person, if you reach across the continent, reach across your own nations, reach across the world to people who you meet here and who will want to be in conversation with you, you can get that powerful spirit that changes things. Now, I've actually written a poem. You heard this stuff about poetry. I've been a poet. My granddaddy saw when I was 4 years old that I had a very stunning memory, so he put me up to learning classical poetry at 4. Along the way, I just kept on reciting poetry because it made all those old guys so happy. But I wrote a poem recently that goes to the very point that we're discussing today, and that is about light and the sharing of light and the use of light. And so to you I say, light the soul. Light lay quietly at the beginning till it was called into action by God. Then it split the darkness, warmed the cold, brought motion to the stillness, touched our souls. And they say there is light at the end. As we brace ourselves for the final journey, the word is there is light even then. Light that blinds you, binds you, then sets you free. From Alpha to Omega, the light shines through. From dawn to dusk, it orders what we do. By particle and wave, it prompts the birds to sing. By pulse and reflection, it points out the way. Light can lift depression, dispel despair, bring hope to the weary, lead us from fear. Light can raise up emotions, quiet the storm, beckon us from rolling seas into the calm. We learn by light, we grow by light, we sit in the dark, transfixed by its sight. And as the light flickers, our hearts respond. We can see the connections, we can feel the bonds. It has been given to some to handle the light, to mold it, to craft it, to bend it to right. It has fallen to some to sculpt what we see, to sharpen, to brighten, to make it run free. To those who would hold light in their hands, there is much to remember, to understand. In the right light, love can shine. In the right light, we can leave wrong behind. By the light, there is good we can know. In the light, justice can grow. Mandela, Washington scholars, young African leaders, I believe that the light is in you. I want you to be beacons of light, and I mean for you to change the world.